Racism towards Africans in Ukraine, many in Africa and the African diaspora are reassessing their unwavering support of Ukraine. Let's talk about it. Welcome to another episode of Bridging the Gap. My name is Jay Cameron for Maximum Impact. And of course, the news that has been dominating the world has been the uprisings and the attack of Russia upon Ukraine and the impact it has had on the entire world. And we are now starting to hear cries of racism towards Africans in Ukraine as they are trying to exit the country. Now, with this conversation is no surprise for many people because those who are part of the African diaspora and many in Africa are used to being mistreated when they go to either Arab countries or European countries or even here in America, and oftentimes even in their own countries. But what I want to show you right now is a clip from some of the accounts that people have shared on social media and just their perspective. Take a look.
We're at the border of Medica in Poland. This is the separation that has been happening, whereas Ukrainians are treated better while the Africans aren't. We've been pushed, we've been shoved, we are denied access, and there are so many of us compared to the Ukrainians. Ukrainians get special treatment while the Africans are waiting outside in the cold in big herds. You get people from Congo all around here, a lot of Africans. You get Africans from Rwanda here. It's just a mess at the moment. We're at the
Ever since news broke of these supposed acts of discrimination, my inbox has been flooded with people sharing their thoughts and comments and wanting me to talk about it and to share my perspective on it. And I'm going to share my perspective, but I want you to see exactly what people are saying who are in that part of the world, and we definitely hope that everyone is hope for everyone's continued safety during this process and as they are evacuating, and for those who are even staying for their safety as well. But what this is prompting a lot of people to do is to reassess their unwavering support for Ukraine. Now, what I'm going to share with you in a moment is how the Western media has manipulated this in such a way, and not the Western media, not just manipulating the story, but really manipulated much of the world. And we'll put a little bit of context to it because it's very, very important to understand the depths of it. Here is a lady who shares her account of what she experienced when she reached the Polish border with Ukraine and how she says she was treated. Take a look.
Richard literally looked me in my eye and said, in his language, only Ukrainians, that's all. That if you are black, you should walk. I'm currently in Debrecen, Hungary. I got in like 10 a.m. today. Today is the 28th of February. It wasn't easy. On Friday at 8 a.m., I was on my way to Poland. I took a commercial taxi and The taxi couldn't stay on the line of cars because literally cars had been there for 2 days. And when we dropped, on the Google map, it was saying a 1 hour walk. And I was like, a 1 hour walk is nothing, if it's getting us there on time. And we walked. We walked and it kept increasing. The term walking is traumatizing me. The term walking, I walked for 12 good hours, and it's not an exaggeration. The traffic warden saw me and said I should go to a shelter to sleep, and I slept. And he said the next day that there is a bus going from that shelter straight to the Polish border. And when it was time to get on this bus, the Ukrainians said, just Ukrainians, literally as a black person. I even lied that I was pregnant. They didn't care. I was begging. The official literally looked me in my eye and said in his language, only Ukrainians, that's all. That if you are black, you should walk. And that was an additional 8 hours from where we were. By car, it was like 30 minutes. So we had to walk additional 8 hours. The problem isn't at the Polish border. It is at the Ukrainian border. Because you have to stamp out at the Ukrainian border to get on the Polish side. And the Ukrainians are only prioritizing their citizens. They don't care. They will push you. They will beat you. If you can make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't. Like, I took a nap and I still felt like I was still walking, like I hadn't crossed over. It's not fair. Like, we're just begging to go. I literally had to go back to my city after that experience, re-strategize, and took a train to Hungary. It wasn't even easy getting to Hungary. We had to pay. Those that didn't have money to pay, what would they do? I couldn't help anybody because I was fighting for my life. It is a traumatizing experience, and I don't know where I'm going from now. I literally have to re-strategize in Hungary, try to get my ticket back to Nigeria because it's not safe. This place is not, if your skin is dark, you're at a disadvantage.
Well, I think that is a sentiment that is shared throughout the world in many instances, even in many African countries, just to kind of put that into perspective. But when people are starting to share this and see those types of stories, because when all of this broke, everybody was pray for Ukraine, all of the black people and brown people all over the world, Ukraine, Putin is a bad guy, Putin is the bad guy, Putin is the bad guy, he's a bad guy. And again, like I said in my other talk, there are no good guys in this whole scenario. And the more you begin to learn and the more you get underneath the surface and not just believing what the Western media puts out, you can have a more educated assessment of your unwavering support. Now, nobody wants to see death and destruction, but the reality is death and destruction is a part of this world, and it happens every single day, and it's not reported on to this magnitude. Now that the Western media has found itself in lockstep with the U.S. government, now they are framing a narrative and framing a story that they have done historically about those who they deem to be a particular threat to their interests, whether an actual threat or perceived threat. And what happens is all of the different media outlets get on one accord and they begin to create a narrative. And so the narrative that has been created that many of us have absorbed throughout the world is that, simply put, Putin is invading innocent Ukraine, and he's this big bad bully, and he's doing all of this, and he's horrible. And I'm not saying that he's not. What I'm saying is I'm just telling you the narrative and how this is portrayed. Once that goes out, for the person who does not stop long enough to think and say, wait a minute, well, why is he doing this? What's beneath this? We see the tanks, we see this happening, we see the bomb, and they'll show things, a bomb going into the residential building over and over and over. And it's like, that's terrible. And they'll get on the ground and they'll show the worst situations, but they won't tell you what's beneath it. They won't tell you why they're levying all of these sanctions so aggressively. And the question is posed, could this move by Putin be an act of defense? Could it be? When you begin to understand the NATO alliance and when you begin to understand the hand of the U.S. in so many affairs over the years, meddling in so many different affairs over the years. When you begin to understand these things, it now starts to paint a different picture that, wait a minute, I don't know if I have this unwavering support. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if I have any, really any thought other than we don't want people to get killed. Nobody wants that to happen. But the reality is that's war. The other reality is that life is not fair. And and hopefully what we begin to realize as melanated people, that we cannot be passive and we cannot be sitting back just waiting for somebody to take care of us. And we need to be thinking and be strategic and understanding that this happens in Ukraine, but it'll also happen in a black country too, where you'll go and somebody will mistreat you because you have darker skin. And they will treat the white person better because that white person comes in and they believe that person has money, or that person is a savior, or that person has some sort of special powers because they connect, they look like a deity that they've been brainwashed with. So those are dynamics that have many, many layers. So what I'm hoping that these young people recognize, that they may not have recognized, that this has been going on forever. And when you begin to understand that the world is not fair, and especially when you go to these Arab countries or when you go to these European countries, they'll be nice to you for a moment, but when the stuff hits the fan, you find out what they really believe. Take a look at this.
The crisis in Ukraine has also exposed the racist tendencies in the Western world. Thousands of students from Africa and Asia are left stranded at the Ukrainian border, but reports of alleged segregation and violence in the Polish-Ukraine border has caused tensions. Nigeria has now hit out the security officials for their treatment towards their citizens and students. The president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, evoked the UN convention. He said that the color of passport or their skin should not make any difference. The Nigerian presidency laid out several instances of reported discrimination by both the Ukrainian as well as the Polish military soldiers. The government cited media reports and videos circulating on social media.
On est là exposé dehors avec le froid qu'il y a ici. On ne nous donne toujours pas où nous abriter au fait. On est exposé avec le froid.
The African Union also condemned the human rights violation. In a statement, the union emphasized that Africans are being singled out and called for more empathy, saying that all people should have the same rights, notwithstanding the nationality or racial identity. South Africa's foreign ministry spokesperson said that South African students are also subjected to the harsh treatment. The spokesperson said that South African envoys are ensuring assistance to stranded South Africans. Ghana has also sent its embassy officials to the border points to assist in their evacuations.
Some of my friends are still there and I'm very worried. I text them to know how they're doing, if they have food or water, because right now the stores are closed.
Yeah,
so
and the attacks are getting worse.
Very, very worse. And hopefully they get out of Ukraine safe and no harm comes upon them.
Poland's ambassador to Nigeria dismissed the claims of mistreatment. She said that invalid documents have been accepted and COVID restrictions have been lifted so that equal treatment is meted out to all people. The crisis in Ukraine has also...
So you see, of course, they dismissed the claims of what's going on, but you have video that shows a great deal of what's actually happening on the ground according to the context of the video. Obviously, anybody can frame a video the way that they want to frame it. But I think that what this should be is a wake-up call for anyone who has melanin. Whenever no matter where you're traveling in America, you've heard the stories about what happens in America, but it's not just white people doing this. And I think that's the part that we lose in this. It's not just white people who do the things that we see. I mean, I'm trying to tell you, there are people who have brown skin who do this to other people with brown skin. People don't like to hear that because they want to act like it doesn't exist, but it's real. So just to kind of put that in perspective. But as far as this unwavering support for Ukraine, a lot of people are reassessing it. And as they're reassessing it, they're saying, okay, what's really going on here? What my hope is is that people will begin to dig deeper and not just take with this garbage that comes across with these jokers right here, these right here. And granted, BBC Africa did run that lady story, so she was on there. So we do recognize that, and that was one of the clips that came from BBC Africa. The lady who was talking about she had to walk for 12 hours and then 8 hours. But this right here, and many more, are culprits in a lot of the bias that occurs, a lot of the bias that is occurring when it comes to this story. So here's what they'll do, and this is what they did with Gaddafi. They did this with Saddam. They're trying to do this with Putin. The difference with Gaddafi and Saddam is that they didn't have nuclear weapons, whereas, or if they did, they had one or something like that. But when you're dealing with somebody like Putin, who has an arsenal that can blow up the whole world, it's a little different. So what they do so they're leveraging, this is a game of leverage. Okay, well, and this is why I tell everybody financial literacy is so important as well, because everything in this world runs on money. People trying to argue with me and tell me, no, it doesn't run on money, it's spiritual, and it's this, that, and the other. Let me tell you something. When you get up in them spiritual buildings and everything, and you don't pay your money, your tithes and your offerings and all of that, and they don't have that thing is going to shut down too. So that goes back to money as well. Now, what you do in your house is your business. That might be something completely different, but if we want to talk about it from a systemic standpoint, all of it goes back to money. All of it goes back to resources. All of it goes back to leverage. And when we get our heads out of the backside of whatever keeps us blinded, we will be able to see clearly. This is common sense, y'all. This is like straight common sense. They're leveraging and attempting to push Putin into a position, but Putin is no dummy. This man is a tactical warrior. It's a mental game, all of that. So now, granted, the people on the other side are tactical warriors too. So they have to brand. When it comes to America, what they have to do is say, okay, he's unhinged. He made a mistake. So we eat this stuff up. I got to get more of that. What's going on CNN? So now their ratings go up. They can charge more for the time because now they got a good story. Fox News, everybody, all the ratings go up. People are glued to it because they're trying to see it. Ooh, and so they play good cop, bad cop. Now, when they begin to leverage and shut down the country, that exerts pressure on the economy. Now that's affecting the people. Now that's disrupting his whole operation. But he's saying, well, listen, hey, I might have to go for broke on this one because if I let you all get into Ukraine, I'm going to end up in the same situation anyway. So we might as well have this mini World War III right here, and it really centers around Ukraine. And everybody's looking for leverage points. Leverage. That's the deal. Putin wants to get this current president out of Ukraine, put his own government in this. That's how they go around the world. They put their puppet governments in, and whoever does their bidding, that's what they want to do, and that's how it works. Now, some savvy investors are now looking at Russia's economy tanking and their stock market shutting down as an opportunity to invest. If their stock market is collapsed by 48%, then hey, this is an opportunity to jump in and buy stocks. Now, that's what the capitalists are doing because the capitalists are seeing how they can capitalize on the situation. The everyday person is just kind of roaming around trying to figure it out. They're caught up in the emotion of the day while the capitalist is saying, hey, guess what? We can make some money right now. Now's the time to get into the market. Please understand a couple of things. They didn't shut down every bank as of today. Didn't shut down every bank in Russia. And there are a lot of Americans who have money tied up in Russia. So at some point, this game right here is going to have, somebody's going to have to give. As I shared the other night, China, it has a vested interest because if Russia falls, then now China is surrounded. And the way that this whole thing works, they'll use terms like democracy, diplomacy, those are terms, peace. And what that is, once you brainwash a population of people with these terms without giving them the full story, then they run with it. They go back and they say, yes, we have to have peace, and we have to have this, and we have to have that, and we have to, and it's an illusion. Because when you understand the way America works, there is no peace. That's the bottom line. There has to be conflict. Conflict is what drums up emotion, and when emotion is there, that's when people move. War generates money. That's the things that when you begin to think like that. So I say to my folks over in those who are in Africa, those who are from Africa, who are in those areas. And next time when you hear something about to jump off like that, get out. That's the reality. Minute you hear it, because now you know how these people see us. That's the deal. If I don't, they're about to go to war, let me get on up out of here. I'm not going somewhere where there's war about about to jump off. It's time to go. Now, some people don't have the resources to do it, or whatever. I don't know. Everybody's situation is different, but hopefully this is a wake-up call for everyone to understand that this is high stakes. This is all about resources at the end of the day. It is all about resources. And whether that's what you see happening. And you see the big boys, the Bombas, all them, they're out there now playing. And it's all a game of leverage. And once you understand that part of it, then the conversation just seems to be a little bit more intelligent, a little less emotional, a little bit more logical. And when we do that, then we show up a little bit differently. A couple other things here. I just want to caution everybody, the U.S. media is tricky. The Western media is tricky. And you'll watch somebody like a Chuck Todd or the people on the morning talk shows. And how is it that everybody is on the same page as like, it's like a theater, write plays and stuff. So I'm saying, look, he's got somebody's giving him a script. And everyone is locked sync to say that, okay, we're all, one thing we're Republican, Democrat, whatever, independent, we're all going to say that this guy's crazy. And that's what we're going to push. But they will not give you the full context of the story because that goes against what the agenda of this particular corporation known as America goes against that. And so as long as it goes against that, then you can't say that because remember these news outlets are controlled by private corporations. Private companies, corporations, and because they're controlled by that, then whatever the interests are of the news directors, you can't get on. Think about it. If you get on there and somebody's saying something totally contrary to popular opinion, now your ratings tank. Guess what that goes back to? Business, money. So the story is going to be, a level of the story is going to be disingenuous because it won't give you all of the pieces of the puzzle that you need in order to form a truly educated assessment of what's going on. Again, I said there are no good guys. Putin is no good guy. Putin is doing dirt in Africa, just like China's doing dirt in Africa, just like America's doing dirt in Africa, just like France is doing dirt in Africa, just like the UK is doing dirt in Africa. Just like Belgium and Switzerland and all these other players, Germany and Russia are just doing dirt in Africa. So if we're going to bridge the gap, we need to be having some real honest assessments of what before we get up and say, oh man, yeah, it's like oh all of y'all are doing the same thing. So how can I really pick a side when everybody's stuff is in the punch bowl? How can I really pick a side if I'm truly going to be educated? So anyway, be sure to share this. Let's have more conversation. Would love your thoughts in the comments. Would love to get your feedback and assessments and all of that. It's great conversation. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and share as well. Because until we start having intelligent conversations, we're just chatterboxes whining and complaining. It's time for us to step up, educate ourselves, and understand what's really going on so that we can bridge the gap. All right, until next time, take care, be safe.